Do things often surprise you and you look back and go, hey, what happened there? Or do you take control of the situation and plan on where it is that you want to go? Well, stick around with me in this episode and I'm going to show you how you can finish really strong this year and go into next year acting more intentionally. Hi, this is Grant Herbert, Emotional Intelligence Speaker and Trainer of the Year and Master Coach Trainer. And today I want to continue our conversation in the second quadrant of emotional intelligence, self-management, by helping you to live more intentionally. Most people that I work with are stuck in the daily grind where they get up at the same time and do the same stuff every day and not really feeling like they're getting any further ahead, where they're working outside what it is that they wanted to happen and they're feeling less than fulfilled. And they're reacting to crisis after crisis. When someone pushes the button, when something happens, and being reactive rather than planning and making things happen the way they want to happen, where they feel out of balance. And they're chasing myths like work-life balance, which assumes that work and life are separate and that for some reason work comes first. And if there's any time or energy left, then you're going to have a life. When in fact, work is just part of life. And the end result is comparison and regret. At this time of the year, many people are looking back at what they haven't achieved. And wow, where did that year go? I don't feel like I've moved any closer to my dreams, to my goals, to the things that I wanted to happen, the things that I said back on the 1st of January I was going to do this year. Well, next year can be totally different because when you shift some of your behaviors and you go from being in that daily grind to a daily flow where you have planned out what it is that you want to achieve on a daily basis, where you are on the front foot instead of reacting, where you're responding to things that you've put in place. It's like in cricket where a batsman playing against a spinner can have things that are not certain. The ball's going to hit the pitch, but I don't know where it's going to end up. But by stepping forward on the front foot and taking away that spin, that reaction off the pitch, they're able to drive the ball and get the result that they want. And that's what we want to be able to do in our daily walk, in our life, in our business, whatever it is that we're wanting to achieve. Where instead of chasing work-life balance, we are perfectly balanced in every area of our life, where it's not a case of everything needs to have even proportions, where our life, our plan, what we decide are our priorities are getting the attention that they want and that they need. And we end up feeling fulfilled because we've actually achieved something. And instead of going, wow, what happened? We made it happen. And that all happens by developing this competency of intentionality. So let's take a look at what intentionality is, and I'm going to give you some key principles that will help you to be more intentional, to actually get up every single day knowing exactly what it is that you need to do to move that needle towards the things that you're wanting to achieve. Where instead of feeling like nothing gets done, you go to bed every night going, hey, I did that. I got what I wanted out of the day. I didn't just let it happen. Intentionality is thinking and acting on purpose. It's being deliberate. It's knowing what it takes to control your own outcomes, to control your own destiny, to be able to achieve this intentionality. Let me give you 5 key areas that we need to work on so that you can get more out of the day, get more out of the week, the months, and the year. And by taking this on, you can finish strong as we finish this year and go into next year and get totally different results to the ones that you got this year. The first step is that you need to know your purpose. What is it that is your overall purpose? What are your priorities? What are you doing what it is that you're doing for? So if I look at my practice, my day-to-day actually moves me towards what it is that's my overall purpose. One of my goals that I have each year is to help a certain amount of coaches become certified in social and emotional intelligence and to build a thriving practice where they have a greater influence, where they make more income, and they make a bigger impact in their world. So knowing that that's my purpose, I can then look at the activities that I could do and I can put them in or throw them out based on whether or not they are going to move that needle forward. I can say yes and no appropriately. And we looked at that back in personal power. And if that's something you're still having a challenge with, I suggest you go back, have a look at those episodes and do that exercise where you realize that every time you say yes, you're saying no to something else and vice versa. So know your purpose. Why did I get up today? It wasn't to exist. It was to excel. It wasn't to be in a daily grind where I'm just getting it done so that I can get home. No, it's deliberate. It's on purpose. The second thing that you need to do is plan your journey. Those who fail to plan to fail. If you set off on a journey somewhere in your car and you just drive off into the never, never, you have no idea where you're going to end up. And that's what a lot of people do in their daily life. They just drive off. They just go into the day and go, let's see where this leads me. Now, sometimes that's a good thing if you are unwinding and taking a week off at a secluded spot where you just want to have some time to yourself, where you don't want to be planned. For most of us, what we need to do is have a plan that tells us where we're going, milestones along the way, checkpoints, if you will, and things that we need to do step by step so that we can go from one destination to the next and actually end up where it is that we want to go. So do you plan where you're going, or do you just take off? What you need to do to be more intentional and get more results that are the ones that you want is to plan, is to put it down on paper in some form and go, this is where I'm going, and then be able to reverse engineer that from your end of year goal to what you need to do today. The third key principle here is to create your balance. This whole idea of work-life balance, you know how I feel about that. It doesn't exist. It's a myth. But also having balance of everything being equal amounts in my work, in my family, in my finances, in my all those things, that is old school teaching that doesn't work. You see, I've been involved in my coaching practice for 14 years. If I was to have the same activity levels and the balance of someone who's just getting started, or indeed if they were looking to do what I do right now, then it may not work for them. So it's your journey that you are acting out on purpose. So therefore you decide what balance looks like for you. It's a word that we use, and I think sometimes it's one that could be changed when we're having this conversation, because it gives this idea that everything is weighed up evenly. But for me, making sure that I invest a certain amount of my energy in a particular area, in more of than in other areas, works for where I am right now. So what about you? Where are you currently investing all your energy at the detriment of other areas of your life that therefore don't allow you the longevity, it don't allow you to have the stickability and the energy to get to the end result? The fourth area that we need to consider here are horizons of focus. So what you are looking at here is where I get started, where I am at the halfway point, and what's the destination. So when we're putting together a plan, a lot of times it takes more energy to get something off the ground. So if we're looking at an aeroplane that is hurtling down the runway and we're not quite sure if it's actually going to get up in the air because it's so heavy and it seems to be going so fast and the runway is running out, And a lot of energy has been expended in getting it off the ground. And then it gets up to its cruising altitude. It doesn't do that with the same level of energy exertion. It takes more to get it up there. It takes more for it to get at a cruising altitude. And it actually takes a lot of energy to pull it up at the other end. So looking at those horizons of focus for you, what do you need to do to get started? What do you need to do to get up to and break through the clouds? And what do you need to get to your cruising altitude so that things are happening and the momentum is building and you are moving towards your goals with more ease and less effort? So looking at your horizons of focus. Are you constantly in takeoff mode, or have you actually been able to get to a point where the momentum is pulling you forward? And number 5 is to reflect, to refocus. Along the journey, you need to plan in time to reflect. This is something that I now do on a daily basis. However, in a more structured way, I do this every 6 weeks, and then I do it at the end of each year. That allows me to reflect on what went well, what is not working, and to tweak and adjust accordingly. However, when we reflect, we need to use what we've talked about before, forward-focused reflection. So still keeping your eyes where you're going, keeping it on the end result that you're after, and having a quick look in that revision mirror to see where you've been. Yesterday, the week before, the 6 weeks before, whatever level it is that you're reflecting on. And when you reflect, you're reflecting on what went well and what lessons you learned from that, what didn't go quite well, and what you could do differently moving forward. So it's a positive exercise rather than one where you feel bad about yourself because you haven't achieved. Taking that time to reflect and refocus can allow you to adjust your flight plan slightly if there's a need to, so that your plan still gets you from point A to point B. The bit in the middle can have a few deviations without it throwing the whole plan out the window. So there you have 5 key areas that you need to work on so that you can be more intentional, more purposeful, and you can move from where you are now to where it is that you really want to go. And you can get there feeling more energized, more fulfilled, because you're working on what's priority for you. You've planned, you've made it happen, rather than just thinking, wow, what happened? So right now, at the time of me recording this is the great time of year, 6 weeks to go, to get ready to finish strong this year and to move into next year with a purposeful plan. Rather than making a New Year's resolution that lasts for 2 weeks, you can move into next year and you can get more from the year than in the first 6 weeks than most people get from an entire year. Well, that's it from me for another week. Join me again next week when we continue this conversation around all things social and emotional intelligence as we move into the 3rd quadrant of social awareness. I'll see you then.